the district attorney,
That's
Greg Diamond.
I was going to start, as many of you know, my name is Greg Diamond, and I'm running for district attorney against Tony Rakakis. But of course, I didn't count on being able to jump in at the beginning.
We are awed by your presence.
Thank you,
You're
as I am by yours.
David against the Goliath.
Yeah, but I'm going to
got
try
to put slingshot.
I'm going to try to take it easy on him. Anyway, I'm here today partially as the result of a partial misunderstanding. I was told when I was decided to run against Tony Rakakis that I was going to have to go after the high rollers. So we're having a bowling party for fundraising here in Anaheim at Lindbergh Lanes a week from Saturday. And this is a low-cost fundraiser. It is going to be $20 in advance, $25 at the door. And with that, you get 3 games of bowling shoes, and we have a friend of the family who's donating a bunch of wonderful desserts, Lindbergh Bowl, Lincoln, and Brookhurst.
Right.
I'm doing this in part because rather than having a $419,000 celebration at the Balboa Bay Club, I want to have something that people in Anaheim and around Anaheim can come to, meet each other, get a chance to talk to me, and let us each find out about what each other are doing in the campaign, and the district attorney's office generally. As far as how the campaign is going, you may have heard I've been a little bit distracted recently because of some other business, both lawsuits that I am bringing with a group called Cater, with whom Brian Chichua is associated, as well as in other parts of my private practice, as well as some party issues that have been going on.
Yes.
But I'm also, I have my information now up on Smart Voter. I have my information up on the OC Register site, which my opponent did not choose to do. He hasn't done Smart Voter either. He did do a ballot statement and I didn't, and the reason that I didn't, and this may surprise some of you, is that a 400-word ballot statement for a countywide election cost $29,000.
Crazy.
And I only got into the race a few weeks before it started, did not have time to raise that kind of money. And even so, that's something I think we need to look at as a county, because it really is such a high barrier to entry that we end up having a lot of people running unopposed who shouldn't, as Mr. Rakakis would have done this time. He ran unopposed the last 2 times. And I actually think that we, as a county, get more by having competitive elections than we do by charging people the full cost of translation and printing ballots. It's a false economy, but it's one that really serves the interests of the people already in office. I'm happy to take any questions you have about anything related to the race. I encourage you to look at the Orange County Register site where they asked me some tough questions, and I gave some frank answers. In addition to that, I should say, just yesterday or the day before, the OC Register endorsed my opponent, which was not unexpected, but I urge you to read that endorsement, because that is probably the nicest endorsement against me or against any candidate that I've ever seen, where they basically said that it was a good thing that I was running, that it was important to bring attention to the office of district attorney, it was important to raise the issues for democracy and all that, but they talked to Mr. Rakakis and he promised them that he was following the Constitution. And so I was lucky enough to see that shortly after it came up, and I wrote a letter saying, and Mr. Rakakis said that he was happy that I was running because it gave him a chance to defend his record. And I said, well, I would like to add to Mr. Rakakis' happiness.
Debate.
I would like to debate him once, twice, let's see, we got about a little under 3 weeks, maybe 25 times, if necessary, to make him really, really happy, to talk about things like whether or not he really is following the Constitution, because I know the answer to that, and he isn't.
Have you responded, Greg?
He has not responded to me, but he is ignoring me as far as I can tell. which, if I win the race, is probably going to make him feel real stupid, but that's okay. Yeah, Greg
Is it
Rath.
top two among you guys? How does that work for the?
No, the county races are somewhat different. In it, all you have to do, if you get above 50% in June, then the race is over.
Oh, okay.
And in this case, because it is a two-person race, unless we somehow tie, which is not the way to bet, then the race will be over in June.
Understand. Thank you.
Yes.
Do you agree with Rakakis's
No.
view? His view on gang injunctions. I think he's going way overboard. What's your opinion?
The gang injunction was unconstitutional. And it was obviously unconstitutional at the beginning. I said that it was unconstitutional when I heard about it. Now the courts have said that it's unconstitutional, and he is still bragging about it. Just like he's bragging about the park ordinance to keep people that are on the sexual offender list, which you can get on, by the way, for urination in public.
Yeah.
Keeping them out of city parks. Also obviously unconstitutional. I said that at the time. It's been found unconstitutional, and he's still bragging about it. On the gang injunction, look, gangs are a huge problem. I have no warm spot in my heart for gangs. But I also know that most of the people in the poorer areas of the county, most of the adolescents included, are law-abiding and want to be law-abiding, and treating them like citizens, treating them like criminals is something that pushes them on the road to having to affiliate with people who are in gangs where they might not otherwise do so, and pushes them on potentially a road to criminality. And that is a stupid social policy unless you are in the business of putting as many people in prison as possible, which unfortunately a number of people in California are in that business. Yes, Paco.
Greg, you ran before for Senate.
For state senate, yes.
What did you learn from there that, as being a candidate before, that you might be applying now
What did I learn?
in campaigning mode?
Learn as a candidate in campaigning.
Yeah.
Don't wear sandals to Los Amigos. Is one. No, actually, I don't think I didn't do that.
You didn't.
Basically, what I learned is that a lot of people value somebody being willing to take up the gauntlet and run, and yet a lot of people turn out to be spectators. They're very happy to see me run until I drop. I can see Colonel Rath shaking his head yes over there. But fewer people than I expected actually want to get involved. And I find, if anything, running against the Senate Minority Leader was one thing, Bob Huff, but running against the District Attorney, what I found is that a lot of people are really afraid, and they tell me that they are afraid to get involved to help my campaign.
Because it's law enforcement.
Yeah, and there's some retribution that people talk about, and that is somebody who I'm an activist before I'm a politician, and that is something that I find really disturbing, because our democracy depends on people being able to engage in political activity without fear of retribution, without fear of career consequences, it's a tremendous disappointment to me. I'm telling people, go ahead and give me $99 instead of $100, so that your name doesn't appear on the report.
Smart move.
And well, it may be a smart move, but it's a tragic one.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So that's one lesson that I learned that I wish I hadn't had to. Yes.
What's your feeling about Tony Rakakis's hands-off prosecution and investigation of public officials?
Oh, I think it's horrible.
Why don't you exploit that?
I'm trying. I need money to put out ads and things like that. I'm trying to. I mean, actually, exploit isn't the word. I'm trying to pound on the issue, and I'll tell you exactly what I say. If I get elected on June 3rd, half of the good that I will be able to do will already have been done right then, because people are going to look towards my taking office in January 2015 and say, we got to shape up. Buy stock in shredders if I get elected, because people are going to be saying, we no longer have a district attorney who is not going to investigate stuff.
Yeah,
We
got
no
a
longer
boss
have a
watching the
district
chickens.
attorney who is going to treat his cronies with kid gloves. We no longer have an attorney who does investigations that can't be counted on to be complete, to be fair-sighted, and everything else. My election as district attorney would do more than anything else to change the culture of Orange County as a county on the make.
So it sends a message that there's a cop with a radar gun out there.
Yeah, it means that I'm not running for sheriff, but it would mean that there's a new sheriff in town.
That's the only
Amen.
reason he's not debating you ever.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to give you the platform. He doesn't want to give you any.
You know, I'm sure he would like to shut me down in lots of
Nixon
ways.
would govern. I'm not going to even acknowledge you, you know.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure I totally like that analogy after how that election worked out.
That's what's
But yeah,
fundamental.
there was a question back there.
Well, I raised my hand, but
Oh.
it's pretty much what he said. In LA County, they have a public integrity division. Anybody can write to the DA with documentation about government agencies and elected officials and say, this isn't right. And the LA DA office gets back to you and says, you are correct. We're going to investigate. And they do, and they follow through. So I hope we can borrow some of the stuff that's happening in LA County over here in Orange County.
Ida, it leads me to a very important point. Some people ask me, what are my qualifications? And I should tell you, I was a social scientist before I became a lawyer. I didn't go to law school until 1999. As a social scientist, a social psychologist, and doing research in social policy, etc., I know how to read a study and how to analyze its soundness. I can get the lessons from it very quickly. The position of district attorney is not a position of personally being a prosecutor. And if we didn't know that before the Kelly Thomas case, we sure know that now.
Yeah, we do.
I am somebody who wants to be able to go around the country, not physically, but to ask the country and collect and analyze the best practices for running a district attorney's office. I will have some great help here in Orange County. I'm in touch with UCI Law School. I've been to an important seminar there on prisoners' rights. I will be in touch with other law schools in the area to figure out, I hope to be in touch with Jackie Lacey's office in LA, to try to figure out the ways to do it right and to bring the best way to run a DA's office to Orange County. I'll just stop there, but you're absolutely right. There are great ideas out there for us to adopt. Yes.
Can you, Craig, go through the potential retirement appointment issue that kind of explain to people why this is the time we need to elect? There's urgency here.
Yes.
In this election to replace Tony Rackauckas.
Yes. The thing about Tony Rackauckas is that most political observers, I think we can say, and this was pointed out in the Register editorial, think that he's not going to serve an entire term. That he is going to get in there either before or after the presidential election, will quit, and will have worked out something with the majority of the Board of Supervisors to appoint his chief of staff, most likely, Susan Kang Schroeder, who, she's a public figure, so I guess I can say this, is an absolute horror show. And you have people who tell me, I am going to vote for you even though I don't like you. People say that to my face a lot. Because I can't stand the idea of Susan Kang Schroeder becoming DA. Why would he be able to get Susan Kang Schroeder in? Well, I'll tell you one person whose vote he probably has, and that's Janet Wynn, if she doesn't win election, because he went really, really soft on Janet Wynn in the Cal Optimus scandal, and she owes him one.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff, I call it corruption, that's going on in Orange County all the time. If Susan Kang Schroeder or somebody else of his choosing were to be appointed, they would be running as an incumbent in 2018. They would have a tremendous advantage, and we would lose the opportunity to get, to to get somebody else in. Now, I will tell you one way that I'm different from Tony Rackauckus. If I go in there at the beginning of 2015, I'm going to tell people, you in that office, because there are a lot of very qualified people, I'm going to tell them there's no problem, no career disadvantage to you if you want to run against me. I don't have a problem with that. I am not going to pander to the public by seeking the death penalty when it's not appropriate, by trying to run up the numbers on people who were arrested just to be able to tell the public that they did it, by using the gang injunction and the public parks statute, ordinance, pardon me, and things like that in order to make myself look good to the public. I'm just going to do my job without an eye on what it would mean for me in 2018. So if there is a better DA candidate out there for me in 2018 and they beat me, that's fine. Because in 4 years, I can do a tremendous amount to improve that office, largely by supporting the people, the attorneys there, who want to do the job right, who want to do it honestly,
He's the last
and
one.
by weeding out the people who don't.
All
had a
right,
question?
Greg's the last one. Last
No,
question.
Well,
yeah, just a
okay.
point, just
Make
to
it
help,
short, G.
you out, yeah, because
Thank you.
you wanna spell that word out, Horror, because you don't wanna be.
Horror.
Yeah, you don't wanna be yes.
Horror
Misquoted.
show.
Oh, he thought it was a
Thank you,
W.
thank you. Can I take a statement, one more, because he was very,
Ben.
yeah.
A couple years ago, I did a research on the DA's office.
Yep.
And on various things, including the gang injunction. One of the things that astounded me is that about 95% of the DA investigators are ex-police officers.
Right.
That being the case, how confident can we be that when they investigate a police department for, shootings that were not justified or whatever, if the people investigating are ex-police officers? I mean,
It's a brother and sister
bias.
organization.
So I guess I'm just pointing that out to you in case you could use that information as to explain why the DA has never won a case, except the one in Fullerton.
Never brought a case except
or
Fullerton.
even brought a case,
And then
right.
and remember, in the
And
one
then
in
lost,
Fullerton,
yeah.
because he's bragging about that now, remember that before he brought that case, he was fighting to keep the audio recording that went with the video, where you could hear Kelly Thomas screaming for his life, from becoming public. And it was only after that became public and the public became irate about what happened that suddenly he switched sides and said, sure, I'll prosecute a police officer for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for the
All
question.
right.
Thank you all for your attention.
Yes.